Have you ever noticed how dawn doesn't just begin a new day, it whispers a chance to begin again? Before the demands of the world rise, before messages light up the screen and footsteps fill the halls, there is a moment of stillness. In that stillness, something sacred waits. It's a space of clarity, a time when the soul is most awake to its deeper needs. And in this quiet, Surah Ya-Seen becomes not just recitation, but realignment. To begin the day with Surah Ya-Seen is not just a spiritual habit, it is an act of setting direction. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ referred to Surah Ya-Seen as the heart of the Qur'an, and this is not merely a poetic metaphor. Just as the heart sends life to the entire body, Surah Ya-Seen sends light into the entire day. Its words are not background noise, they are active guidance, gentle reminders, divine recalibration. In the early hours, when the world hasn't yet claimed your mind, the Qur'an finds room to enter. This isn't about perfection, it's not about fluency or speed, it's about connection. Even if the Arabic feels slow on the tongue, even if the eyes pause at every line, the act of turning to the Qur'an in the morning is a declaration. Remembrance comes first. Before the headlines, the deadlines, the to-do lists, this moment belongs to Allah. Surah Ya-Seen meets every heart differently. For some, it lands as reassurance. For others, it stirs reflection. The same verses that once felt distant may suddenly feel personal. That is not inconsistency, it is spiritual intimacy. The Qur'an doesn't change, we do. And it meets us where we are. Imagine sitting near a window with soft light coming in. The world is quiet. You open the Qur'an and your eyes fall on the first verses of Surah Ya-Seen. As you recite, your breath slows, your thoughts soften. You're not rushing toward completion, you're present in the experience. This is worship not as a task, but as a conversation. And like any real conversation, some days you'll feel it deeply. Other days you'll simply show up. Both are valid. Both are seen. Both are sacred. Surah Ya-Seen speaks of creation, messengers, resistance, resurrection. It reminds us of the unseen systems that surround us, the sun's orbit, the alternation of night and day, the ships that sail the seas by Allah's permission. These are not random facts, they are signs. And dawn is when these signs are most alive. The sky changing colors, the air crisp, the light gentle. Reciting during this time doesn't just connect you to the Qur'an, it connects you to the rhythm of creation. This rhythm is intentional. Nothing in nature rushes, but everything moves with purpose. The sun does not compete to rise faster. The moon does not struggle to stay full. They follow a course given by their Creator. Likewise, starting the day with Surah Ya-Seen teaches us to begin with alignment, not anxiety. You still have tasks, yes, but now your soul leads your schedule, not the other way around. One of the beauties of this practice is how it reshapes identity. Over time, the one who begins with Qur'an becomes someone different, not in appearance, but in essence. The same challenges may arise, but the reactions change. Frustration gives way to patience. Confusion finds direction. Stress meets trust. You begin to notice the verse you recited in the morning returns to you in the afternoon, not as memory, but as meaning. And meaning is what we're all truly seeking. In a world full of noise, Surah Ya-Seen becomes a filter. It separates what matters from what merely demands attention. It pulls the soul out of autopilot and reminds it of its origin and destination. To him is the return. This simple statement reframes ambition, softens fear, and lifts hope. This is not about withdrawal from life. It's deeper participation with more presence, more purpose, more inner stability. Surah Ya-Seen in the morning does not ask you to escape the world. It invites you to enter it with clarity. The same schedule feels less heavy. The same goals feel more anchored. Why? Because your orientation has shifted. You're not moving aimlessly. You're walking with remembrance. And when that remembrance becomes habit, life begins to bloom differently. Some habits are built not through force, but through love. The one who returns to the Qur'an each morning does not do so to tick off a task, but to realign something inward. The habit of reciting Surah Ya-Seen at the start of the day isn't a command from others. It becomes a quiet invitation from within. It calls gently, not urgently, but with a kind of spiritual magnetism. And in answering that call, something beautiful starts to take shape. At first, it may begin as a whisper of responsibility. You tell yourself, just a few verses today. You sit, you open the Mus'haf, and you begin. Perhaps your mind wanders. Perhaps your tongue struggles. But you continue. Day by day, a shift unfolds. That whisper turns into a rhythm. That rhythm turns into a refuge. The verses no longer feel distant. They begin to feel familiar. Not because you have mastered them, but because they have started to recognize you. The morning becomes a meeting point, not a ritual of performance, but a place of return. The soul, restless from a night of dreams or fatigue, finds its first nourishment not in food or news, but in revelation. Even when the body is slow and the eyelids heavy, the Qur'an welcomes the heart just as it is. There is no expectation of perfection. There is only the invitation to be present. Surah Ya-Seen speaks to the one waking with clarity and to the one waking with questions. It speaks to the calm and to the anxious. It never demands that a person be in a particular emotional state before turning to it. Instead, it receives what is real. It doesn't wait for you to be ready. It makes you ready, slowly, patiently, like a breeze that enters without knocking. One of the gifts of this morning practice is the way it starts to soften your relationship with time. When your first appointment is with the Qur'an, the rest of the day feels reordered. The pressure may still exist, but the panic doesn't lead. You find that time stretches in subtle ways. A task you feared becomes manageable. A meeting you dreaded passes more gently. A conversation you were avoiding finds the right moment. These changes are not always loud, but they are precise. They are real. They are from Barakah, not strategy. And Barakah is not earned through speed. It arrives through sincerity. That is why even a few lines of Surah Ya-Seen, recited slowly, can carry more weight than a fast-paced full recitation done without presence. The Qur'an honors effort, not fluency. It measures intention, not volume. Even when you pause, even when you repeat a line twice because you stumbled the first time, even when you sigh and wonder if your focus was enough, know that the angels are writing your effort in gold. Surah Ya-Seen is not only for reflection, it is also for protection. The stories within it are not historical records to be admired from a distance. They are blueprints for modern living. Messengers who were rejected remind us to speak truth even when it is uncomfortable. A single man who ran from the far end of the city to support that truth shows us that influence comes not from power, but from conviction. The imagery of creation, the sun, the moon, the seas, teaches us that movement without chaos is possible. That even in the fast pace of life, we can be anchored if we are guided. Perhaps the most powerful transformation happens when one starts to notice how the verses walk alongside them during the day. The same line recited at dawn may return in the afternoon, not because you tried to memorize it, but because it spoke to something your heart recognized. A line about divine command may come back when you're facing a difficult decision. A line about resurrection may comfort you when you feel unseen. A line about the ships on the ocean may help you accept that some journeys are designed to feel vast and uncertain, but are still within the safety of Allah's plan. You begin to carry the surah with you, not physically, but spiritually. Its echo lives inside your reactions. You find yourself choosing silence where once you would have argued. You take a breath before replying. You choose trust over fear, gratitude over complaint, patience over urgency. And you don't always connect these choices to the recitation, but their root lies there. The Qur'an does not just speak to the mind, it conditions the soul. It trains it like light trains a plant, drawing it upward, even if slowly. This connection doesn't require grand gestures. Sometimes, just a single verse is enough. If one morning feels heavy, let it be a morning of few words but full sincerity. If your energy is low, sit for even 2 minutes with the Mus'haf open. Let your eyes land on the verses, even if your voice remains silent. Remembrance does not begin with sound, it begins with presence. And presence is not measured by productivity, but by intention. In this routine, you may begin to notice how the Qur'an responds to your internal state without needing to be explained. It knows when you're grieving. It knows when you're overwhelmed. It knows when you're hiding. And it never shames you. It meets you. It holds you. And when you feel too lost to find your own words, the Qur'an becomes your dua. It speaks to Allah on your behalf with words you didn't know you needed. Returning to Surah Ya-Seen every morning is not about adding one more obligation. It's about reclaiming the tone of the day. When the world rushes to tell you who you should be, what you should buy, where you should go, the Qur'an reminds you of who you already are, a servant whose worth is not measured by control, but by remembrance. And even if one day you miss the recitation, do not let guilt grow louder than return. Come back the next day. The Qur'an is not a scoreboard. It is a sanctuary. What matters is not the interruption, it is the return. The one who returns again and again with humility and hope is the one who is growing. Surah Ya-Seen in the morning is not a milestone to achieve. It is a companionship to build, a slow, faithful friendship with the words of your Lord. A relationship that doesn't shout, but holds. That doesn't demand, but nourishes. That doesn't compete with your life, but gently reshapes it from within. There are certain verses that stay with a person longer than others, not because they were memorized with effort, but because they were lived into being. Surah Ya-Seen, when recited in the stillness of morning, begins to plant such verses in the heart. Over time, these verses don't just comfort during prayer, they shape character during pressure. They don't just echo in the prayer mat's silence, they return in the noise of daily life. And that is when one begins to understand this surah is not just for recitation, it is for becoming. A person who begins their day with revelation does not always become louder in their religiosity, but gentler in their humanity. They do not necessarily walk faster toward their goals, but they walk with steadier steps. There is a difference between moving with momentum and moving with meaning, and Surah Ya-Seen helps close that gap. It teaches that the smallest acts, a pause before replying, a silent prayer in frustration, a soft tone in tension, are not minor. They are traces of remembrance at work. This work is often quiet, even invisible to others. There is no audience for the moments when you catch your ego and choose humility, when you swallow impatience and choose silence, when you forgive someone before they apologize. But the one who revealed these verses sees them all. The Qur'an was not sent for show. It was sent as guidance. And guidance is most powerful when it operates beneath the surface, refining the self gently, like water carving into stone over time. In a home where Surah Ya-Seen is recited regularly, softly. Without announcement, the atmosphere begins to shift. It's not always dramatic. The furniture is the same. The tasks are still there. But the tone changes. Children may not understand every word, but they feel something settle in the air. Guests may not know why, but they feel a certain calm. And the person reciting, they begin to recognize their home as not just a place to live, but a place that breathes remembrance. Even a single voice, reciting with sincerity, can change the direction of a space. Qur'anic sound is not ordinary sound, it is light in the form of syllables. And where light enters, shadows begin to retreat. A verse in the morning becomes an anchor by afternoon. A dua whispered after recitation echoes into evening. And slowly, a house becomes not just a place of shelter, but a sanctuary. But even the most sincere hearts can falter. There will be mornings that rush past without pause. Alarms will be missed. Responsibilities will demand immediate attention. Guilt may creep in. On those days, the voice inside might whisper, "You've broken the habit." But remembrance is not a contract, it's a relationship. And relationships are not built on flawless performance. They are built on return. So return, without drama, without self-punishment, just return. The beauty of the Qur'an is that it does not close its door to those who missed yesterday. It opens wider for the one who shows up again with humility and longing. What matters most is not how long you've been consistent, but how willing you are to come back. The Qur'an honors those who return, and Surah Ya-Seen welcomes with the same mercy every single time. As the days pass, you may begin to realize that the verses are not just sounds anymore, they're becoming your language of living. You recall them not just in prayer, but in conflict. You hear them when tempted to cut corners. You remember them when something beautiful happens, and slowly, without effort, you find your inner voice being shaped by divine wisdom rather than worldly reaction. This is how remembrance transforms into character. Not in slogans, but in choices. Not in declarations, but in responses. Not in public, but in private. And when life becomes uncertain, as it always does, Surah Ya-Seen becomes a refuge. Not as an escape from responsibility, but as a reminder of who holds all outcomes. It does not remove hardship, but it carries the soul through it. It does not eliminate fear, but it rearranges it, reminding the heart that nothing drifts without Allah's permission. Appointments may shift, plans may break, people may disappoint, but one who walks with verses at dawn walks with a compass, even in the fog. The surah's imagery of resurrection also realigns daily motives. It whispers in your choices, what will remain beyond this moment? Which words will echo? Which actions will outlive you? Suddenly, ordinary routines, serving a meal, speaking kindly, finishing a task with excellence, take on eternal weight. Because you're no longer living just for this hour, you're living for the return. And in that return, you begin to find freedom. Freedom from needing to be perfect. Freedom from comparison. Freedom from outcomes you can't control. Surah Ya-Seen reminds the heart, you were not created to carry everything. You were created to remember the one who does. Let this habit stay gentle. Do not try to force it into a mold of performance. Some days a single verse is enough. Some days the entire surah flows effortlessly. Some days you just sit in silence beside the book. All of these are valid. All of these are remembered. If there is one verse that could summarize the spirit of this entire journey, perhaps it is the one that says, His command when He wills a thing is only to say to it, be, and it is. You do not need to create peace by your own effort. You need only to seek it sincerely. The one who gave life to the sun and clarity to the moon can give ease to your morning and guidance to your heart. Your part is to begin. His promise is to respond. And when you do, speak to him in the way your heart knows best. Let the moments after recitation be moments of honesty. No script is needed, just sincerity. Thank him for what is present. Ask him for what is missing. Confess what feels heavy. Admit what feels hopeful. The Qur'an prepares the heart to pray. Let it be your starting point, not your conclusion. If today you are seeking a sign to start, this is it. Begin tomorrow. If you already started and stopped, begin again. If your life feels full, guard a small beginning. If your life feels quiet, fill it with a generous beginning. Stand, wash, sit, recite. Let Surah Ya-Seen be the first voice you hear in the day, and let its echo carry you through whatever follows. The one who gave you this longing did not place it in you without purpose. He placed it as an invitation. And when you respond to that invitation, even with a trembling voice, even with a sleepy mind, even with a broken heart, he listens, and he gives, and he guides, again and again. So return, and let the Qur'an be your rhythm. Let remembrance be your foundation. Let Surah Ya-Seen be your light before the sun even rises. And when the world begins to move around you, you will already be anchored, rooted in revelation, walking in trust, living in meaning.